Domingo German, 1 out away from forever. Ruiz stands in his way. Grounded to third. Donaldson has it. There it is! Perfection for Domingo German!
This is Rafique Louison, and you are tuned in to Nothing But That Sports Talk. Get you in the game. Welcome to another episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk. Yeah, that's the fourth Yankee hitter in history, and it was done by Domingo German. And I got a former WFUV alum, just like Ryan Ruocco and Justin Shackle, who did the call for that game, Samamtha Bohror. Welcome to the show.
What's up? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and as we went over off the air, I mean, you talked about how phenomenal it was to not only to have another no-hitter, but a perfect game called by two WFUV alums like yourself. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? Give your thoughts.
You know, it's really exciting as an FUV alum, especially now an alum, I guess, which is weird calling myself that. But I guess I've graduated, so I've joined the ranks of those like Ryan Ruocco, Justin Shackle,
And
Michael
me.
K, and you, fellow FUV alum. And we stand with some pretty cool people in that title of alum. And it's really exciting to, you know, see the FUV legacy live on and to see two of them get to call these games together. You know, I feel like I love hearing Kay and Ruocco on air a lot, but to now hear Shackle and Ruocco together is really exciting. And what an exciting, you know, game that was. Like you said in the intro, only the fourth, wow. Perfect no-hitter game for the Yankees in their history, and especially to have that be thrown by Domingo German, and especially right now when that Yankee season has been so up and down so far, and especially like I mentioned off air as well, you know, losing to the A's and having that kind of rough spot for them. But now, I mean, what a way to re-energize this franchise and this team, and I'm very proud to have watched it as a WFUV alum called by those two people, even though I may be a Mets fan, but can't deny it was amazing.
Yeah, the Mets are egregious. They're 17 games out of the division, and it's a rare time I can say they have no chance of making the playoffs. I mean, come on, they lost 8 consecutive series, but we'll get into that. I mean, like when you I mean, as a Mets fan, I mean, like how much have you enjoyed the games that you have against you watch them? How much do you hate or respect the Yankees moment like that?
You know, you have to respect it. I think even if I am a Mets fan, you know, as a sports fan in general, you can't help but respect literal history like that. You know, it's really exciting to watch that happen, and to watch it happen to a team that calls their home pretty much what has been in my backyard for the last 4 years. So it's really exciting to see, and, you know, to watch the fan base be so excited by that. My best friends are all Yankees fans, and my phone was just blowing up because everyone was so thrilled about that game, and it was really fun to watch. And, you know, I might root for the team across town, but you can't deny how fun that was and how, you know, astronomical that was for this franchise at this time in the season.
Yeah, you gotta give props to the New York Yankees. They're a very historic franchise, and even if it's only the fourth perfect game that we've seen in that particular franchise. And we saw like about 24 perfect games, somewhere around those realms. I mean, as long as you've been following baseball, like, do you consider that one of your favorite perfect games that you watched as a baseball fan and an up and coming media professional?
I would honestly have to say yes, just because of the excitement, and especially of, you know, like you said, Domingo German throwing it. I think that is really exciting. And while I do have to concede that I've not been a baseball fan my whole life, I've only come into that predominantly in the last few years. I've watched quite a few reruns of some no-hitters courtesy of my friends at FUV. And I have to say that game was really exciting, and it's definitely going to be one that, you know, sticks with me for a while.
Yeah, just like you being a graduate at Fordham University is going to stick with you for a while. But let me ask you this one question. What made you decide to pick Fordham University coming out of high school and joining WFUV?
You know, it's funny that those two events were actually not at all connected, but I think that it was just kind of fate that brought me to both of them. I actually was a theater performance major at Fordham, and I went to school there with the intention of being an actor and being on Broadway. And, you know, I grew up an actor my whole life, and then it was my summer before my junior year. And I was like, I want to get involved in something else. I've always loved broadcasting. And originally I wanted to be in news. And then there was no room in the news section that semester. And so I ended up in sports, and it's been the greatest thing to happen to me. I called Bobby Chaffardini, the sports director of WFUV, and he said, we'd be glad to have you. And, I wanted to be a part of something that got to report and got to talk about what was significant and what was newsworthy now, and why it was so newsworthy in something that, as cheesy as it sounds, really does unite everyone. As an actor, a big thing we talk about is community and empathy. And I think that a lot of that comes through in the sports world. I wanted to be a part of something where I could share those stories of, the fellow broadcasters, of the athletes, of the people involved in the community. And Fordham and FUV just kind of happened to be the place where it all came together. So I kind of, like I said, ended up at FUV by chance, but it was a really great moment of chance for me.
Exactly. And what year did you come into WFUV in Fordham?
I started my junior year. So I was a part of FUV for 2 years at Fordham, actually.
For 2 years. So that happens right after I graduated, because I completed my master when I done master's degree in public media in 2019, as I mentioned before. We saw each other in person at the game. So
Yes.
yeah, you got a taste of it, but don't worry about it. Bobby C was. Bobby C weren't playing when it said that WFUV don't let just anybody in the door. Mm-hmm. And let the news rejection fool you. I got rejected from the news department. Excuse me. But I got connected because George Brodowski, who was a news at the time and a professor at Fordham University, he was nice enough to grant me with the opportunity to not only be his student in his class, but also a student in a WFUV news reporter, or day of news reporter rather, right there, just to get a taste of covering news. So don't worry about it. At the very least, you can always go back there as a grad student if you wanted to.
Yeah. It all worked out for the best.
Yeah, you might need to. So what you can recall some of your favorite WFUV moments as a media professional during your 2 years there? Outside, yes, that includes the game I saw you covered.
That's a good question. I think I have a few of them. So in addition to, I know, like you mentioned, I met you and saw you at the men's basketball games because I was a sideline reporter for FUV for men's basketball and football as well, which I have to say some of those games, oh my gosh, some of the 3-pointers that I saw from DQ, from Khalid Moore, will live in my brain forever. Honestly, being able to be on the sideline talking to, I remember one of the last games of the season, I talked to Coach Ergo's family. And that is a moment that I think is really something I hold close to my heart. It's just getting to talk to his wife and kids and get to know, who is it, the mastermind behind this whole Fordham men's basketball operation that I was so pleased to witness in my senior year and get to report on. But I think also I was a beat reporter for 2 different NHL teams in my time at FUV. I was a beat reporter for the New Jersey Devils in my junior year, and then the New York Rangers in my senior year. And the first game that I covered for the New York Rangers was, I think, their 3rd game or 4th game of the season. It was my first time being at MSG as anything other than a fan. And it was one of the most special moments so far of my media career, because there's really nothing like, getting to walk into MSG and sit in the Chase Bridge and then interviewing the players after the game. And, I never forget that first day. I was too scared to ask a question, but I went back the next day and I asked Jacob Trouba a question, and he was the nicest, most gracious guy. And that is one of my favorite memories, maybe ever, but especially as a media professional. And WFUV is really what gave me all of those opportunities. And I'm so thankful.
Did you at least get to cover one playoff game with the New York Rangers and Devils? Because, the Rangers did make it to the conference finals that season. You first started covering it.
That I did. I didn't get to cover any Devils games this year, sadly, and I didn't get to do, which was very sad. And then my first year with the Devils was a very bad year for them, so no playoffs in sight. I did get to cover game 5 of the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, which the Rangers did lose. But man, that was electric. Being in the Garden in a playoff atmosphere Oh, wow. There is nothing like it. And that series this year was just so incredible and so tense that even though, I have to say the Rangers got walked in that game, and it was clear that they were going to lose the series, I think, after they lost that game, it was still really, really incredible to be there as, a 22-year-old media professional sitting next to some of the best reporters, I think, in the game, especially in the NHL world. It was really fun.
Yeah, very fun indeed that you guys experience that whole environment of covering games at the Garden. I mean, it's a true taste, very very good taste. But to continue the conversation, I mean, what do you call some of your what do you recall like like the mindset and the preparation when being able to ask the players questions?
I was very, very nervous at first, and I actually didn't ask any with the Devils last year because I felt so like this wasn't my place. No one made me feel that way, but I just was so in my head about it. But I got to MSG and I sat there and I watched the game, and a lot of it comes honestly for me from analyzing stats and finding, okay, what is a niche that I can look for to ask a question about here that no one else is going to ask? What is something that I hear the people around me talking about, that I hear the fans talking about, that I see online that people want to know about? And a lot of it for me is preparing in that way, writing down certain questions, hearing if other people ask them first, et cetera, and then thinking, what is going to be the best information I can get in this moment for myself, for the fans listening, for people watching at home on MSG Network, and what am I going to be able to serve best? And so I think a lot of it for me, the mental preparation for me was a lot of psyching myself up as well and being like, I can do it. You deserve to ask these questions. And thankfully, the Rangers players and their organizations, including Gerard Gallant, when he was, of course, the head of the Rangers, which he is no longer, were all very kind in taking my questions and very respectful in their answers. So it helped a lot that I had a very receptive group.
But let me say this: you shouldn't be shy to answer. If you ever get an opportunity to interview players in the future for your next job, you should not get nervous. I mean, you can be nervous, but you gotta have the right mindset to fight through the nervousness and shyness that's inside of you, because you never know how to play. Because you're always gonna get a humble answer from these athletes, unless you catch up a bad day or you ask the wrong question that's gonna get you upset. Then you're always gonna be in a good mood. Trust me, I've been on the Liberty Zoom calls for about a few years, and I've covered other teams on top of that for the past 4 years. I know what I'm talking about. I knew how to ask questions because I've been used to interview people all the time. It's all about being consistency. I watched Gigi Spears. I just watched a girl named Gigi Spears and a girl named Lauren become YouTube content creators after graduating Fordham University. So imagine how your career will take off if you start your own YouTube channel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
start your own media outlet and ask the athletes questions.
Yeah, it's really cool how, Gigi's my girl. I love her. And it's really exciting, this brand that she's created for herself, on TikTok, on YouTube, with being able to ask the players questions, ask fans questions. And, I don't say I'm a shy person by any means. I just think that in that space, it's hard being at least 15 years younger than everyone else in the room, or at least 10 years younger, and being one of 2 women in the room, I think is kind of where some of that apprehension came from, but it's gone now. And I'm happy to ask questions to people now, but it is really exciting, like you said, with how Gigi's, creating her own platform, to see the way that can boost people and how that can, forward their media presence. So it's something I'm thinking about, but for now, I just enjoy watching hers.
Yeah, and you can learn something from watching her. So you can also learn from many other like Ryan Ruocco, as he does play-by-play. I mean, did you ever have a chance, speaking of play-by-play, you ever have a chance to do play-by-play during your time there? And if you did, how comfortable were you on the microphone for your first demo to your last broadcast?
I actually did not do play-by-play or color in my time there. I thought about it, and a lot of my friends did it, and they were amazing at it. And it was just never something I had a super strong interest in. I wanted to do color for a little bit, but I just knew that maybe play-by-play wasn't for me at the time. But what I really wanted to focus on and what I was really excited to do was sideline reporting. That was, ever since I got into FUV, that was what I wanted to do. That was where I wanted to be. And I was really lucky and really excited to be able to do that for not 1, but 2 sports in my senior season at FUV. So I was very excited, but I'm sure if I had done play-by-play or color, I would have been very nervous in all of them. But we have some amazing student play-by-play and color broadcasters that have left Fordham now, like Nick DeLuca, who went from FUV to the Brooklyn Cyclones. And then we have people who just graduated, Sam Davis, Andrew Galata, all of these names that everyone should look for as they're up and coming in the world, because they are incredible.
Exactly. And not to mention, exactly. I mean, I was part of the WFUV workshop that Ryan Rook hosted during my time there, and he would also say, and he once said that WFUV is the right start.
Yeah, and I agree. He's right, man. The people that it produces, like you said, not just anyone walks in that door, and not just anyone graduates from it. The people who stick around are the people who really care. And you can tell that those people care and they're talented and they want it. And it's really, really exciting now to, like I said, join the ranks of people like you, but also, some of the other alums that we look up to every day in the broadcasting world.
Exactly. I came back to Fordham University for the 2 games along with the Atlantic Territory to showcase everything that the craft that I developed as an independent journalist. All the years I've been covering the WNBA and doing all the podcast interviews like I'm doing with you right now, just to ask players like Khalid Moore and Quincy-Berry in what was nearly the best Fordham season that we had in quite some time. So I was like, you know what, I gotta get some reps in it, because Keith Ergo is very. I mean, you was there when I asked Keith Ergo some questions. He was very conversational. He doesn't just make it 1 or 2 sentences. He went in depth on his players. Yeah,
Keith Ergo, man, I cannot say enough good things about that guy. I think he is an amazing coach. I think he's a great person. I have never had a bad interaction with him personally. And yet he cares so much. I'm so happy that Fordham signed him to the deal that they did this past year, because, he cares. And we both experienced it firsthand in those press conferences. He is kind. He takes the time to talk to media, to talk about his players. And he never puts, the win on himself. He always says it was a team effort. And I think that is what made this season so historical. And I think that's what makes him such a great coach.
Exactly. And when you look back at when you look back at your 2 years as far as WFUV, I mean, what are some constructive criticism that Bobby C and the kids that you work with gave you, and how did you learn from it?
Some of the advice you said?
Yeah, advice and constructive criticism you take from them.
Yeah. I think that, they told me to slow down, which I'm still working on.
I have that problem a lot. I always had that problem. I sent my demo reels to Justin Shackley. He told me I need to slow down. Trust me. I learn from it. Or at least
Exactly. But all we can do is work on it. I think that a lot of what Bobby said that I think that has really stuck with me is he's like, every opportunity is an opportunity to get better. And I think that's a really great mindset. It's not about being perfect, especially right out the gate, because no one is going to be. And if you are, then why are you here? Go be on ESPN or something. That's not the point. The point is to never be perfect. The point is to keep learning and growing, because none of us are perfect. And I think that with that, it allows me a lot of forgiveness in myself when I do stumble on air, when I do stutter, when I do, pronounce something wrong or say the wrong score, which feel like fatal flaws in the moment. But then I think, this is always an opportunity to get better. Now I know what I did. I listen back to myself. They listen back to me. And I think that it really, really helps me move forward. And I think it's great advice for everybody. It's say, this is an opportunity to get better and to move forward. And, something else that Bobby also says is that, the industry is so small, and treat everyone with kindness. And I think that's something everyone needs to do, because it is really small. Everyone knows everyone, and there is no room for being pompous or rude. I think that is one of my favorite things that we discussed and fostered at FUV is be kind to everyone, because doors open.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. And if you were what I said, that's what I'm talking about. That's the mindset you have to have. I mean, when I did demos, I always make sure that when I'm talking, there are times where I stutter, but there were times where I kind of talk faster than I'm supposed to, and there were times where I put more energy into my voice than when it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And looking back at it now, I know I should have done better enough, and I wish I had more years at Fordham so I could get to do beat reporting at least 1 year. But I took the 1 year program degree because that's the closest media journalism related degree that they had at the time, mm-hmm. and I wanted to learn journalism a bit more in the grad level. So, yeah, there's benefits to that. So, yeah, now that we got out the way, I know you covered the New York Liberty during your days at WFUV, and I know you saw the phenomenal season that they've had at the phenomenal offseason of picking up Jonquil Jones and Breanna Stewart. This past week, they came from behind to defeat the Washington Mystics. They shut down the Connecticut Sun, and later tonight, they will take on the Las Vegas Aces, the most anticipated matchup that we've had in quite some time. But before we get to that, I'm going to play a little clip of what Breanna Stewart said in the postgame in a conference earlier today. Later tonight is a highly anticipated superstar matchup with the Liberty going up against Aces. What is this has you thinking about?
What am I thinking about going into tonight is continuing to be confident, continuing to, make sure that we know exactly what we're doing defensively, and that this game is going to have a lot of runs, a lot of highs, a lot of lows, but continuing to kind of play through that and know, we have one another to fall back on.
And why don't you tell me a little bit about your overall impressions of yourself as far as your adjustment to play for the New York Liberty during this first half of the season, especially bouncing back from the few losses you did have?
Yeah, I think that, looking at myself for the first however many games, I'm really encouraged with the way that I started, but, want to make sure that it lasts for the entire season, the entire 40 games. And we're at this point where, we just don't want to miss opportunities. So make sure we put everything out on the floor and leave it there. And also we learn whether we win or lose that, each day we want to get better.
Appreciate the insight. Good luck tonight.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to turn back to Jackie, and Jackie, you're going to be followed by.
Okay, what do you learn from what Breanna Stewart said in the press conference?
I think she's exactly right. I think that they've got to keep pressing hard, and I think it's about pushing forward as a team, especially facing against, the reigning champs of Vegas right now. That is such a dominant team. And I think that Breanna is one of the greatest players we're seeing right now in the WNBA. She's the 43rd player in WNBA history to earn at least 4,000 points in her career, and she's the fastest to do it with only 196 games. So I think that, she's right on the money with how she's been doing this season and with what the team needs to look for tonight, and what they're looking forward to is just putting together that full 40 minutes and, working together, because they can't do it alone, especially not against a super team like Las Vegas.
Exactly. The Vegas is undefeated at home. They only lost once, and it was against Connecticut Sun, the team that the New York Liberty just defeated. So, you're going to see some intensity between these two teams.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be really intense. I think that where it comes here is it's going to be a battle of, offense versus defense about which team can put up, which that might sound stupid, but I think it is going to be which team just has the stronger of one of the two tonight. I don't think it has to be, both teams have to be perfect. I think it's just going to be if the offense on one team is slightly stronger than the other. And then I think that if one team falters even a little bit, that's who we're going to see come out on top, and vice versa. I think that it's going to be really dependent on everyone playing their full 40 minutes and working as hard as they can, especially defensively for the Liberty.
Exactly. And when you were covering the New York Liberty or discussing it on WFUV Public Radio, what are some weaknesses that it's Liberty had? And do you think that they develop it, or at least a step closer to developing it?
Yeah, I think that, I mostly spent my time discussing the Liberty on our women's sports podcast that I helped start with some other women at the station called All In. And I think that, like I said, I think a lot of it is defensively. They are bottom 5 this season, at least in turnovers forced per game. They allow their opponents to shoot pretty high percentages from 3. And I think that defensive structure outside of the arc is going to be really important. And I think that is something that we've seen from them in the past that has faltered a little bit, is that defensive ability to stand up against some of these really, really strong offensive superstars from these other teams. And I do think that they're getting there slowly. I think they're learning how to mesh, especially with, this new starting 5 that they've put together this season. I think that they're getting there step by step. And I think that all of the little weaknesses that maybe come from what's been in the past, perhaps a lack of chemistry, from perhaps not having people in certain positions that they need, I think that now they're finding, and slowly they're getting there, especially with, Sabrina Ionescu and Vandersloot and Breanna Stewart. I think that they're putting together a really, really strong lineup.
And that's what I'm talking about. In the WNBA, in the league with full of 12 teams, 144 players, you need a strong lineup in order to win a championship, or give yourself a chance to win a championship, especially with the way the playoff is structured, because it's not going to be 12 teams as long as they're still in the air and there's still discussions of the possible expansion Captain Engelbert just trying long and hard to figure out what next two cities should host a WNBA team. But let me ask this one question. I mean, and I know you only covered because you're WFUV, but if you were to put a WNBA team in two cities, which one would it be?
Ooh, that is a really good question. Ooh, I think that as a Colorado resident, I want a Denver WNBA team. I think that would be sick because, I'm from Colorado. Obviously, Nuggets just took home the championship, and that would be really exciting to then see, the WNBA come there as well. I would be a huge fan of that. And otherwise, where would I want to see a team? Maybe I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm trying to think now. Maybe, it'd be really fun to have another WNBA team nearby to the Liberty, and it could be that whole, Knicks next rival.
Right? I said the exact same thing on Spotify agreeing with Christina Williams a year ago, and they was like, nah, don't try to play my New York Liberty. I would like that to happen. I welcome a New York rivalry in the WNBA.
I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be great. I think that it'd be the perfect opportunity to increase the market. That would be fun.
Exactly. Just like how you saw Mets and Yankees, Giants and Jets, Brooklyn Nets and New York Knicks. That would be fun. Speaking of the New York Knicks, I already went over earlier in the show that Khalid Moore is signed an off-season summer league deal with the New York Knicks. You'll get to see him down in Vegas to showcase his talent. He already declared that he's going to come to the NBA. But we just think the Knicks would pick him up at least as a summer league team. I've covered Khalid Moore. You cover Khalid Moore. The guy has a mindset to carry a team on his back with a fast break dunks, the ability to get the ball, the hustle plays, the intensification, being relentless on the court. And you saw it with first as you covered WFUV for the past few years. What can you expect from Khalid Moore in the Vegas Summer League?
I think he's going to, prove that he belongs in the big leagues. I think he's going to prove that he belongs in the NBA, like so many of us at Fordham think he does. He is a superstar. This past year, just raffling some of these off that I'm looking at. Third team All-Atlantic A10, only player to start all 33 games, averaged 15.7 points per game, a second on team, 20 or more points 11 times, 5 double-doubles. I think he's going to prove that, he is this solid forward that can do what they need. He's 6'7", he's over 200 pounds. I think he's going to prove that he's aggressive and he's a big man and he's ready to show that and ready to play with the big dogs like we all know he is. I'm pumped to see him down in Vegas and to play with Knicks Summer League because I think it's the opportunity he deserves. And I think he's going to prove that, I'm here, I can do what you want me to do. And I think we're going to see him blend really well. I think he's a really good team player. I think he's really good at blending in with whoever he is on the court with. And I'm really excited to see him, start with new teammates that I haven't seen him with and figure out what that means for him as a player.
And it's funny because a year ago, the Knicks almost were literally in the championship game of the Summer League. And one of my co-hosts, I asked him that question. He was like, yeah, that don't mean nothing. It kind of means something in a way because you're developing your skills for the pros.
Yeah.
Way towards making it into the pros.
Yeah, he is. He's developing his skills in front of people who know him. And also, it can't help but benefit his game to, play with people at that next level at a slightly different area who have maybe different skill sets than his teammates at Fordham did. It can't help but elevate his game. And I'm really pumped to see what that does for him.
Exactly. And I can't wait to see how far the New York Knicks will go. And the offseason is literally fast approaching. And the Knicks are one of the teams interested in trying to get James Harden to trade. He opted to the Philadelphia 76ers, but it was all for the purpose of him, the organization, to trade him to another team. So, if you're James Harden, would you go to the New York Knicks or the Los Angeles Clippers?
Oh, I don't know. See, that's the thing is I don't think that the Knicks are going to get Harden because I don't think they can afford it. And I don't think that they're willing to offload the cap space that it will take to get him and to get that superstar contract. I think it'd be really funny to, watch him come here. And I'd be like, man, going to somewhat of a rival team, that'd be really fun. But he turned down a $35.6 million player option. I don't think the Knicks can offer him that kind of money. If I'm him and I want a championship now, I would probably go to the Clippers. I hate to say it, but I think so. I think you go to the Clippers because I think that the Knicks have a couple more years of growing to do before they are that championship team that we want them to be.
Exactly. But the Knicks were in the second round last year, so it wouldn't be impossible for them to pick up James Harden.
Sure.
And let's not forget, the Clippers only lost because they weren't healthy against the Phoenix Suns. So there's that.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. I think that if you went to the Clippers, that'd be quite a team to face.
Exactly. And to get to know you a little bit, I mean, like, what are some fun things that you like to do outside of sports when you're not doing sports reporting or job hunting?
Oh yeah, a lot of it is job hunting, but it's a lot of fun. I'm a bartender right now, which is so much fun. So I love bartending. I just get to pour drinks and talk to people all day, which are two really fun activities for me. I really love to explore, the city with my friends. I've been getting back into reading, which is really fun. I did not do a lot of extracurricular reading when I was at Fordham because, as you know, it's very academic, very heavy on a lot of that. And so I didn't enjoy it, but I'm getting back into it. I'm reading some really interesting books about journalism, but also just about nonfiction fun things right now. I don't know. I love to do lots of things. I went to the zoo yesterday. That was really fun with my roommate and her boyfriend. And we got to marvel at the red pandas. And that really made my day. They're so cute.
Yeah, I saw you across the country looking fine. Your swimsuit last week.
God, thanks. Yeah, I was in Croatia for a little bit. And then I was in Tennessee at a music festival, which was a lot of fun. It was my best friend and his girlfriend, my best friend from Colorado and his girlfriend. And we got to go. And it was my second year at that particular music festival. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, obviously, I know that had to bring back your passion for art and theater a little bit.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I never know really where things are going to take me. I'm just kind of taking it as they come. I have an acting job in Massachusetts in a couple weeks, which will be really fun. That I'm really excited about, getting to be a part of Williamstown Theater Festival, which I've never been to, but always wanted to. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I don't know if you knew this about me, actually. I grew up a competitive dancer. So while I didn't play on an organized sports team like many of our fellow media friends, I was a dancer for 15 years. And I spent about 25 hours a week for 15 years of my life dancing and training. And it was a lot of fun. So I think that I'll always have, that kind of passion for acting and dancing and art in me. And it's a lot of fun to get to go, consume these medias as well and go see shows in New York when I can afford them. And it's a lot of fun. So I'm happy to have some time now to do that.
Exactly. And and I'm proud of that you managed to do all that. This comes from a guy that did theater, I think, for 3 years.
Nice.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Now up in this episode of But That Sports Talk, I'm Rafique Louison alongside Samantha. Thank you for stopping by to tell us a little bit about your life on the sports world. And I hope you manage to land a job soon.
Thank you. Me too.
And to all balls out there, get your head in the game.